Hi friends, welcome to this latest episode of the Nationalist View, and today we have a very special guest, Mr. Zahack Tanvir. Tanvir Saab, thank you so much for taking time out from your busy schedule and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Arun Anand ji. And I really appreciate you for picking up complex topics. And I really appreciate your capacity to dissolve it into, simpler terms for your audience.
Thank you, Mr. Tanvir. Mr. Tanvir, for our viewers, let me give you a brief introduction, though it doesn't need any introduction, because the body of work which he has created, especially in context of counter-terrorism. So he's a renowned counter-terrorism expert. He's also the founder of Milli Chronicle, a leading digital platform. We'll be sharing the link of the Milli Chronicle also in the description box, so you can go there and you can read the stories, and he is a regular contributor to various national and international publications, as well as a regular panelist on a number of very prestigious podcasts as well as international television channels. And today, Mr. Tanveer, I want to start with one of your latest tweets. And for our viewers, we'll also be sharing the Twitter handle of or X handle of Mr. Tanvir in the description box so that you can follow him there also. So, Mr. Tanvir, I'll read your tweet that giving a reference to I think your article in Times of Israel. So you have written, everyone cries for Gaza, but no one weeps for Afghanistan. As Pakistan bombs villages, kills civilians, including three young cricketers, and expels 1.7 million refugees, the world and the Ummah stays silent. So if you could elaborate a little bit more about this for our viewers.
Sure, definitely. It's not only about Afghanistan, it's been happening for other places as well. If you look at the Muslim majority countries like Sudan, you look at what is happening right now in Sudan. 30.5 million people have been displaced, and majority of them are children, and majority of them are women, and they are pregnant women who are delivering the babies in the desert. So nobody is actually talking about it. Why? Because the perpetrators or the people who carried out these atrocities are the Muslim Brotherhood, the Ikhwan al-Muslimin. So I wanted to bring attention of the international community as well as the Muslim Ummah, because I belong to the Muslim Ummah. So I want to bring their attention to the selective outrage, because when it comes to Gaza, we carry out multiple protests. Not only Muslims, even the leftist groups, they carry out protests inside India. You see, they have boycotted the Zudio. They have boycotted. They are doing protests in front of the McDonald's, in front of the Starbucks, and they are calling for the boycott of these companies and the corporations. But the problem is when it's happening right now in Afghanistan. The Pakistani regime has been killing people indiscriminately and mercilessly in Afghanistan. In fact, three of the talented cricketers died, and nobody's actually reacting to it. Everybody is dead silent. So that is what I wanted to highlight in that article, that why the selective outrage. If you speak about humanity, then you have to speak about everybody. When we say that Palestinian issue, yes, we stand for Palestinian issue. But when we say the Palestinian issue is the humanity issue, then what about the Hindus of the Bangladesh? Even they are, subjected to persecution. What about the Kashmiri Pandits? And what about the people of Sudan? And what about the people of the Christians of Pakistan? So nobody is actually talking about the other minorities, and everybody is hooked up to only Gaza and only Palestine, while the stakeholders of Gaza are the powerful Arab countries who have money, who have lobbies, who have influence. So why are we only wasting time only one issue? There are other issues as well.
Mr. Tanveer, if we look at the state of Pakistan right now, I was also looking at one of your recent panel discussions that was on Times Now. And you mentioned there that actually Pakistan, you can't basically call it a state, or maybe you call it a rogue state. So, right now, how do you see this conflict between Pakistan and Afghanistan, and the kind of pushback which TTP is making within Pakistan, and Pakistan trying to shift the blame on countries like India? So, uh, how do you look at basically, is it because for a very long time we have been talking about that Pakistan is collapsing, Pakistan is collapsing. So, how do you look at the current situation in Pakistan?
Look, TTP, the Tehreek-Taliban Pakistan, is the product of the Pakistan's own misadventures. So Pakistan is blaming right now on India, on Modi government, on Ajit Doval, and on RNW. And this is Pakistan's old habits when they don't have answers, when they cannot deal with their own personal situations. So they pass blame on others. And this is what Pakistan has been doing right now. If you look back at the history, back to the 2000, so it was Pakistan who was funding the Mujahideen to fight the Americans. And at the same time, Pakistan was hosting the American soldiers to fight the Afghan and Taliban. So Pakistan was hunting with the hound and running with the hare, and Pakistan was doing all kinds of monkey business, and it got trapped in its own monkey business. So if you look at the Afghan nuances or the Pakistani border, especially the Peshawar and Waziristan and these areas, you see that the people here, they are more connected with the tribal identity rather than the national identity. Unlike India, like for example, you're from Delhi and somebody comes to you from Kerala. So the common identity between you and the Malayali is the Indian identity, right? If somebody comes from Kashmir, Kashmiri is the Indian identity. He has the Indian identity above that. But that's not the case with Pakistan. In the Pakistan, the Pashtun identities, the Pashtun tribes, they have more, power, and they have more, they take pride in that identity rather than the Pakistani identity. So when Pakistan was hosting the American soldiers, and in fact, Pakistan helped the Obama regime, the Obama administration, to bomb some of these areas with the precision strikes, with the drone strikes, they killed a lot of Pashtuns. They killed a lot of these innocent people in these areas, in the tribal areas. And that is where the TTP came into existence. So back then, if you look at the past 20 years, you see between 2005 and 2015, the attacks were intense. But you see, the last year, 2024, there were almost 600 attacks or skirmishes, not full-blown attacks, but skirmishes against the Pakistani security forces, Pakistani establishments, Pakistani security checkpoints, and first posts, and all these regions. You see these attacks happening. So why have these been happening for the past 1 year? Because now the TTP has got a safe haven. Now, after 2021 Taliban takeover, they have a safe sanctuary. So the first problem is the safe sanctuary the TTP has got. So Pakistan is facing really big problem. Past the Afghan Ashraf Ghani government was not supporting TTP, and Pakistan government was also not doing that. So they were underground, but now they have the safe haven. The second thing is the Pakistan establishment is not able to negotiate properly with the TTP, compared with India right now. In the past 2 3 days, you see that a lot of almost 93 to 95 left-wing extremists, the Naxals, they gave up the arms. They have surrendered. So you look at the Indian diplomacy, how it's dealing with the problems of the left-wing extremism. And in the past 10, 11 years during the Modi government, especially on the northeastern side, Manipur, Nagaland, you see the Modi government was successful in making the dialogue and discussion and diplomatic ties with the people to address the grievances. What Pakistani establishment is not able to do right now is either to take the aggressive approach by bombing, killing, carrying out the airstrikes, and declaring them as kafir, declaring them as khawarij, and indiscriminately and mercilessly killing them. So the second problem they have right now is they are not able to do proper negotiations and discussions. And obviously, the third problem they face is the Durand line, the colonial drawn Durand line, and the Pakistan claims its area is almost like 2,000 plus kilometers. So Pakistan claims it's and Afghanistan. Originally, it belongs to Afghanistan. So Afghanistan doesn't want to give that to Pakistan. So these three things collaboratively causing problem, and it's backfiring upon the Pakistani establishment.
Pakistan always talked about having a strategic depth in Afghanistan, but there seems to be a strategic disaster now. Had anybody, it was unimaginable that for many that ultimately there will be a fight between Afghanistan. There will be a kind of a battle between Pakistan and Afghanistan. Now Qatar has also stepped in, and Doha they seem to be talking about or having reached a ceasefire. But meanwhile, the Pakistan continues to attack, installations in Afghanistan. So, how do you see this Pak-Afghan conflict panning out? Uh, for both Afghanistan as well as Pakistan?
Well, it goes without saying that Pakistan has not lost Taliban completely. Like they still have linkages, they still have people, they still have mutual interests. But if you look at the whole scenario, you'll see that every time Pakistan gets into a trap, it runs either to America or it runs to Doha, Qatar, or Saudi Arabia. After the Operation Sindoor, Pakistan tried to portray that, India went to ask the help. But that was not the case. If India would have gone for the help, then India would definitely thank Donald Trump for that. India didn't do it, and it has not done till date. And that's the reason Donald Trump is quite irritated because of the India's not showing that gratitude to Donald Trump. And in fact, that did not happen. Now, the second scenario, which you see when India, the Pakistan and Afghanistan, when they got into trouble, when they were fighting, they got into the crisis. The first thing what Pakistan did was to run to Qatar and Saudi Arabia. By the way, Taliban does not have any official relations with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has not recognized Taliban yet. So, who is actually running to Saudi Arabia to seek help? Obviously, not Taliban. It's Pakistan. So it's very clear that Pakistan has always been running either to America, either to Qatar or Saudi Arabia. So eventually today they signed a deal, and this is the first phase of the deal that they will stop fighting. And 48 hours deal was also signed, some days ago. And despite that, Pakistan was carrying out attacks inside the Afghan territories. So Pakistan doesn't stand by the words. How many treaties Pakistan signed with India in the past? And despite that, you see almost 6,000, more than 6,000 attacks the Pakistan has carried out inside India. And some of them were the biggest ones, like the 2008 2611 attacks and the Pahalgam attack. So Pakistan doesn't stand by the word, so it's very difficult for the neighboring countries of Pakistan to trust Pakistan. In fact, Iran doesn't trust Pakistan. I'm not pro-Iranian, by the way, but I can see that Pakistan's under the umbrella of Islamic unity supported Iran, but immediately after it supported the Trump carried out the attacks, the Israel carried out the attacks, and Pakistan supported Trump and said that Mr. Trump needs the peace prize. So, in short, what I say that Pakistan calls it as a strategic depth, but it's not the strategic depth; it's the strategic disaster.
Let's talk about TLP also, Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan. Uh, like TTP, TLP was also an extremist group which was primarily found by the Pakistani military establishment. And now TLP has turned its back on the Pakistani military establishment. Recently, we saw that near Muridke in Pakistan, so there were massive violent clashes and a large number of TLP activists, so they were killed. And there seems to be earlier also there have been violent clashes between the TLP followers and the Pakistani military establishment. So, do you think that this policy of Pakistani army or Pakistani military establishment of creating such Islamist or extremist organization is finally, kind of getting back to it? I remember Hillary Clinton said in 2022 a very famous quote. I often quote that if you are, nurturing snakes in your backyard, so you don't expect them to bite only your neighbors. So they are going to come back to you. So is it the situation, and how actually bad the situation within Pakistan? What's your assessment in terms of TTP? Then Balochistan, we are seeing, there is a massive this thing unrest. Then in POJK, we have seen a massive unrest. In Sindh also, there is unrest, and then we have recently seen this TLP fiasco. So what's the overall picture in terms of when you look at it?
Yeah, there is also another famous saying which says, "The chickens will come home to roost," and I think that was used for Malcolm X when he was supporting the blacks. He was supporting the black movements, and eventually he was killed by the same blacks. By the Nation of Islam, he was killed and assassinated by them. So that's where this term was used. The chickens have come home to roost. So the same problem with Pakistan, this doesn't work. You nurture them, you feed them, and eventually, when you embolden them, they become so autonomous that they try to influence your policies. So the TLP, we were talking about the TTP, which is on the border sites. Now we are talking about the people inside the city, inside the urban areas, the TLP, the Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan. And this is one of the most dangerous and extremist Bareilly extremist organization. And if you remember back in 2022, when the Nupur Sharma episode was happening in India, and immediately after it, a Rajasthan tailor was beheaded by two extremists. So they belong to the same Barelvi extremist ideology. So Pakistan, some of the parties inside Pakistan, they used it to confront the civilian governments, and eventually they see that the same group is confronting them today. The two major problems what Pakistan has done with TLP is, the first thing is that they have emboldened them with their blasphemy, proactiveness. Every time they want to cut down someone, or if they want to confront someone, they would bring up the blasphemy thing. And you remember the Sri Lankan manager was burned down, and they belong to the same TLP. So what did he say? He said nothing. He said that you got these stickers on the machines, and we are getting the foreign investors. So it's better to remove it and let it clean it. Let it be clean place. And that was termed as a blasphemy, and it was burned alive. So because of the agreements what the Pakistani regime or establishment had with these kind of religious groups, it emboldened them to carry out all sorts of violence in the name of religion. This is the first problem they created. And the second thing which they did was by giving the policy shaping and policy making in the hands of these religious extremists. In India, you have the UPSC system, the world's toughest exam. So the policymakers, the bureaucrats, they go through the toughest process. They go through the UPSC and they go through the bureaucracy. And you know this the famous movie 12th Fail, which got the awards. Yeah, you understand, how tough it is. But that's not the case in Pakistan. You have the street mobs, you have the street people making the policies, influencing the policies, and dictating the foreign policies, what the country should do and should not do. So now the biggest problem is, okay, we understand about the people who live in the border areas, but how about the educated masses? How about the urban, population, the so-called moderates? The problem with the Pakistan is that even the moderates, they sound radical. You talk to a moderate, he speaks in a very radical tone. You talk to a truck driver, he speaks with a very radical tone. You speak to a militant, he speaks with the same radical tone. So this is you know, I think it's a irreversible challenge. I don't think so. It's very easy for Pakistan to solve it. And in fact, it's a very big problem for India as well.
So, my last question: how should India be, looking at this situation? Because Pakistan is a neighbor state, and and such kind of volatility, and there is always a chance of the spillover effect, especially in the Jammu Kashmir area also. And we just have had Operation Sindoor, and we have seen how volatile the situation is. So, and it seems, it would be the way Pakistan is collapsing. It what Pakistani army has always done is basically, to create some trouble for India, and that helps it to rally people around it once again. So, of course, India would be watching it very cautiously. But how do you look at, the going ahead? The way situation is unfolding, what should be India's strategy, and how do you assess the way India is handling the situation?
Well, the first thing is, as I interacted with a lot of intellectuals in India, what I understand is India and Indians, they don't look at the destruction of Pakistan. They have accepted Pakistan as a neighbor. But the problem with the Pakistan is that it wants to avenge what happened in 1971. So what Pakistan has to do right now, it has to forget what happened in 1971. I know that it was a big humiliation, 93,000 soldiers, they pulled down the pants, and it was a big humiliation. But Pakistan has to move ahead now. So India focuses on the $5 trillion economy. And for that $5 trillion economy, India cannot have a neighbor and a unstable neighbor next door, right? So Pakistan is facing not only the problem outside, it's also facing problem inside, as you just mentioned, from the Baloch, from the Sindh, and in fact from POK, Pakistan occupied Kashmir. The Kashmiris are not happy with the existing Pakistani regime. So Pakistan is facing problem from all directions, and the spillover will always be felt by India. When the Pakistan and Bangladesh were fighting, and India was kind of sandwiched, and India had to intervene. So, in fact, India wants to move ahead, and for that, India wants a stronger Pakistan as well and a stronger Bangladesh as well. And these two neighbors have to understand that India is not the enemy. So now, what India is doing, India is playing this game very, very strategically. I know that people have been making fun of India's Foreign Minister Jaisankarji, but I see him as a very great strategic leader. You see what India has done recently. The Balgram Air Base. Trump has been talking about Balgram Air Base. So to have the Balgram Air Base, or to talk about the Balgram Air Base, the Trump cannot go and speak to Chinese. And Trump cannot go and speak to the Pakistanis because Pakistanis are not in good terms with Afghanistan. And Trump cannot ask Saudi Arabia to speak about it. So the only country, the strategic partner where Trump can come and speak to is India, and India can use that as a leverage. So I believe India is assessing the situation, and India has fantastic foreign policy, and India has the people who are controlling the entire system. They have come through a fantastic process and tough process, and I'm sure that the whole situation will be dealt in a very shrewd way.
Thank you, Mr. Zahack Tanvir, for joining us and taking time out from your busy schedule and sharing such deep insights. And we hope to host you again very soon, especially on Middle East and the Islamism, as well as the Pak-Afghan situation, which is unfolding very rapidly. And thank you once again for taking time out from your busy schedule. And we'll be back soon with another podcast, and we'll keep on tracking the geopolitical issues. Thank you, viewers, for watching. Thank you.
Thank you so much.